Welcome! I'm Johan Nilsson.
And I'm Lincoln Murphy, and this is Impact Weekly.
We're here to help you make your customers successful. Each week, we answer your most pressing customer success management questions by relying on our years of experience with companies around the world.
Let's get this going. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Impact Weekly. Today we're going to cover something that both me and Lincoln think is probably the most important thing. It's customer growth. How can you assess your potential? And more importantly, how can we act on that potential and achieve these expansion targets that we have in customer success? We did a deep dive on this in a webinar a few days ago. We're now going to share that with you. I hope you enjoy it. And remember to post questions. We're going to cover a lot of questions coming weeks, so feel free to open up and ask your specific question to us. Also, we have Impact Academy, which is our training programs. We have a few programs starting now in March. So make sure to sign up. You have the link here in the bio. So hope to see you there and enjoy this episode and have a really great week.
Hey, welcome. It's time for a webinar. Today we're talking about customer growth. Welcome, everyone. My name is Johan Nilsson. I'm a founder and CEO of Start Deliver. And just to make sure, you will get everything from today. So you will get the recording, you will get the presentation. And here are some of my contact details if you want to reach out, do that. I also want to emphasize that this is a live webinar, unless you're watching the recording, of course, and post questions. So we will have some time in the end, hopefully, to cover questions. So make sure to do that if you're watching this live. So Start Deliver, we make a customer success platform. So that's one of the things we do. But we also do an Impact Academy, which is training for customer success managers, for heads of customer success. And that's one part of what we do. And just speaking of that, we have a lot coming programs, but these are the ones coming up very soon. So make sure to check those out. We also have time zones now. We cover US, we cover APAC, we cover Europe time zones. So make sure to check those out. For today, today's topic, I have invited a very special guest, a friend, our partner, Lincoln. Welcome to the webinar.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. And today we're talking customer growth. And I know, or maybe some of you might say, wait, why are we talking customer growth? We are in a downturn in the economy. Maybe you have seeing an increase in churn and everything is focused around that. So why are we talking customer growth? And I think that's exactly why we need to talk about that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. So I'm excited to talk about this today for sure. I think the timing is actually really good.
No, I think so. And I mean, let's start there. Just like say that you have been seeing some increases in churn. I mean, a lot of time you spend most of your, if you're in customer success, you put your focus there. But does that mean that you can't do expansion at the same time?
No, I think there's I don't know if it's a myth or just a misunderstanding that if you have churn, you can't really do anything else. That's the only thing you need to focus on. Now, of course, if you have massive amounts of churn, you have some really big sort of systemic issues that you're working through, then maybe that's a different situation. But if you're sort of just, kind of an average company doing fine, you have some churn, you have some contraction, that also means you should probably also have some expansion. It's just, these are the natural things that occur. And so I think over the years, we've come to that understanding. I think there was a time early in customer success where it was sort of thought you can't, the environment that creates churn is an environment that is not conducive to expansion. And again, if you have some really systemic or cultural issues in the company, maybe that's going to be a problem. But I think we just need to recognize that not all of our customers are the same. They're not all at the same place in their journey. They're not all dealing with an economic downturn in the same way. And some are going to be in a position based on their progress to need to buy more from you. If we just take this economic downturn and say, well, everything's bad, let's not worry about it, then you're actually going to be not giving some customers what they need when they need it by avoiding trying to upsell them. And of course, there's we don't ever want to like try to force a product on somebody when they don't need it, but we do need to recognize that some of our customers are going to be in that position.
Yeah, and if you're in the leadership of this and you're head of customer success, of course, if you have some contraction, some churn, I mean, if you're looking from an NRR, net revenue retention perspective, you need to look at how we also can have expansion to compensate and end up in a positive way from a net revenue retention point of view as well.
Yeah, I mean, I look at expansion as probably the most powerful NRR growth lever that you can pull, powerful and fastest. You can impact NRR by trying to reduce contraction. So we are seeing an uptick in contraction as well, and that's basically when a customer pays us less. They don't leave. That means that we're seeing a lot of right sizing of accounts.
Yeah.
So customers that bought too many seats,
right.
They were or with layoffs, they have licenses that they don't need anymore, and so we're seeing contraction at the account level in that way. But basically, having well, that's probably the trend that I'm seeing right now is more contraction than full churn.
Yeah.
And
I think why we wanted to do this webinar together was that I think it's also important to put focus around expansion and the right type of expansion, of course, because if you put the focus on churn, where you put the focus, the energy goes, right? So you will, and if you especially have a team of customer success managers, you need to also put their focus on where they can find expansion and how they can work with that, because I think that's easily forgotten if you have a little bit pressure right now with the contraction and that side of the coin, basically. So I think that's one of the purposes with this webinar as well, to help people do expansion in the right way. And I know, I mean, I think maybe we should talk about that as well. I mean, there's a bad way of doing it and a good way of doing it. And I think it's also important to talk about that.
Yeah. So I like to say there's a way of doing it that's going to lead to just sort of incremental growth, almost at best. And then there's a way that has the potential to lead to exponential growth in account value. And what I mean by that is literally doubling, tripling, 10xing the value of a customer account, meaning literally we can get double, triple, or more, even up to 10 times the revenue from a customer over, at some really over their lifetime with us, if we look at things the right way. And so the wrong way, and I'm just going to lay it out like that, is to approach expansion sales like you do new business sales. So you apply the same strategies, you apply the same tactics to existing customers that you would use with new customers that you're trying to pull out of thin air.
Yeah,
you just don't need to do that. The tactics and strategies and even characteristics of the people doing the work in new business sales, they're required for that, because you literally are saying, we need this much new revenue. Go forth and pull from the heavens customers that we don't currently have a relationship with, right? That's a very specific set of skills that's required, and personality traits and all of that. But we have a relationship with existing customers. We know where they're at on their journey towards achieving their goals, or we should. We understand what they're trying to do. We know the progress that they've made, and we should know, as they make progress, that some of those progress milestones are going to have an associated expansion opportunity for them.
Yeah.
And when they get there, we should sort of surface that opportunity with them. And if they're interested, then we turn it over to sales or whatever to sort of close the deal. That approach, tying this to their actual progress, that's where we can achieve that exponential growth. Because number one, a lot of customers are going through progress milestones that have those associated expansion opportunities. We're just not recognizing that. And number two, we may be able to get customers to those different progress milestones multiple times. Like in one calendar year, they may go through several of those. So we might get multiple expansions with a customer. Like no one would ever, I think, when creating quotas or upsell goals, say, you know what, let's try to sell a customer 3 times in 1 year, right? That would be aggressive. That would be seen as just unrealistic.
Yeah.
But if we understand their actual progress, that might just happen by simply focusing on making them successful and moving them through those progress milestones. So incremental growth comes from applying new business sales tactics to expansion. Exponential growth comes from looking at this as something very special and unique, this relationship that we have with our customers already.
Yeah, so that's a completely different way of looking at when you need to start assessing this as well. I think you mentioned it there, but I think that's also to avoid doing like you do in new business sales. We need to think of this differently, and maybe we should stop a little bit around also what kind of potential. If you're coming in new and you want to start assessing what kind of growth you could do. Where do you start? And I think we mentioned some things that we shouldn't do, but what can we do here to come up with some sort of a plan as well?
Sure. And I like to start with what not to do, because in this case, you don't always start with what not to do, but in this case, if you look up anything about expansion or upselling, it's all just sort of taken from new business sales. What we're talking about here is it's what world-class companies know. What we're talking about here is what companies that have NRR well over 100%. It's what they know. But if you just kind of Google this or ask ChatGPT to tell you how to do upsells, you're probably just going to get the old school new business sales tactics. So, we need to look at expansion revenue as really the most predictable revenue that there is in a company. Like the predictable revenue that you get from new business sales isn't really predictable. It's kind of just a math problem. Here's our goal, here's our close rate, here's how many leads we need done. When we look at our customer base and we look at how many customers are going to be progressing through certain milestones, and we know that those milestones have associated expansion opportunities, we can take a CSM's portfolio of customers and we can say, this is how many customers will hit a milestone that has an expansion opportunity this quarter. And we can say that because every customer is going to be different in terms of the different segments. So we can say for this segment, the value of those expansion opportunities is this. For this segment is this. Now we look at the portfolio and we say, here's the expansion opportunity in terms of revenue for this customer, or for this CSM's portfolio of customers. Pull all that together for all the CSMs. Now you know what the actual expansion opportunity is within your customer base. And I'm telling you, in my experience, that's often much higher, like several times higher than you would have ever thought to come up with for a sales quota. But it's also actually attainable because it's based on their progress. So that's what I mean. We should know, like in terms of predictability, we know where our customers are, we know where they're going.
Or if we don't know that, we need to start there, of course.
And that is exactly it. We need to start with that analysis. So
I just want to pick up on that. What you mentioned about segmenting the customers as well, because for instance, if we go back now to the scenario that you might have contraction in some segments of your business, some of these segments, as you say, if we identify them and we see they're doing a lot more with us, that's where you have these expansion opportunities as well. So I think it's also plays into you might see some industries, some segments of customers are having a tough time in this economy. Some will still be doing quite well. So it comes back to that as well, having a clear segmentation as well and understanding your customer base and where they're at.
I mean, what you just said is absolutely critical. And one of the problems with the way that things are usually done, we're talking about applying new business sales tactics and techniques to and strategies to existing customers. But I think there's usually what we didn't mention there was that it's very often literally the new business sales team that's also kind of going after existing customers, right? Yeah. Or maybe there's a growth team, but they're using these techniques and these tactics, and they're doing this without collaborating or really just in any way syncing with customer success on where the customers are in their journey. So you have, basically salespeople pitching to customers that are not in a place to buy something more. Maybe they're in a life cycle stage where it just doesn't make sense. Maybe they're at risk. Their health score is low. Their success factor is negative, whatever. And now the customer's going, why? They're coming back to the CSM. I see this all the time. Come back to the CSM and say, hey, why am I being pitched on this product? We're working through these issues. And the CSM's like, oh man, I'm sorry about that. Right. So expansion doesn't hurt trust. No. Expansion, giving the customer what they need when they need it doesn't hurt trust. What hurts trust is trying to sell them something they don't need when they don't need it. Right. So now in that one email that an SDR sales development rep sent to an existing customer, just caused the customer to see their relationship with you in a whole different light, and it wasn't positive. So you're right. I mean, we need to make sure that we do take into consideration everything that's going on with the customer, so we're giving them what they need when they need it.
So given that you've started doing this, how can you, if you're in a CSM and you want to start identifying new opportunities here, how do you go about that in the right way? And maybe also what I mean, we talked about it, but the wrong way, the right way, but where do you start here, and how to think of this when you want to look, you want to find some opportunities here, how to start? Sure.
So I said it a couple times already, and some of you might have picked up on it, but we surface opportunities with the customer. We think of these opportunities for expansion as opportunities for the customer to acquire something, to add something to their account, not just because we're trying to extract as much revenue from them as possible, but because this is the thing that will help them achieve their goal or accelerate their path to their journey to their goal. So understanding where they are is going to allow us to know exactly what the most logical thing is for them. But we have to start there. What do you have to upsell? Like literally start there, because very often that's not clear. Like we haven't just mapped that out. So start with what you actually have to sell, and then go through the success milestones, the progress milestones that your customers would go through on their way towards a goal. Start with your most common goals or use cases or whatever, and say, and you can do this for your portfolio. If you're a CSM, you can do this for your portfolio of customers. If you're head of CS, you can do, or you're working in an account team or a growth team, you can do this for all of your customers, whatever. It's basically to say, all right, what are these progress milestones that our customers have to go through in order to achieve their goal? And which one of these have a logical expansion opportunity? So we take that list of things we have to sell and we say, when would it make sense for them to buy this? Now you have that. Now we can look at our customers and say, of the customers that I manage as a CSM, which ones are going to hit those success milestones this quarter? Now I have an idea of how many customers are going to have expansion potential, and I also have an idea of what that additional revenue would look like. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to buy it, especially if we haven't sort of set them up knowing that this is an opportunity for them. So they may not have made budget for it. They may not have been, made plans for it. Change management might not have happened. So there's a way that we can approach that will significantly increase the uptake of these expansion opportunities. But at least we know,
yes,
like, this is how much we could legitimately expand this quarter in our customer base. And that's something, again, world-class companies know this. Those that are doing really well, 110, 120% NRR, like, this is what they rely on. But a lot of companies just don't look at it this way. And I hope that everyone here will.
Yeah. And just one point there. I think when we talk about, sometimes when we present this and talk about goals, the CSM will say, well, I don't know my customer's goal, right?
Yes.
And I think, I mean, you need to, then that's a great way to start, of course. But how can we help them understand the goal of the customer, and where do you start there?
So that's a good point. And I sometimes just gloss over these, like, super really important, foundational aspects. We cover this in the Impact Academy training that we do for our CSMs. It's something that when I work with companies, we bring the framework. But essentially we need to do goal discovery. So here's kind of a provocative thing that I like to say. If you don't know your customer's goal, you don't know the objective that they are trying to achieve, and you don't know the time frame. That's what makes up a goal: objective and time frame. If you don't know that, you're not doing customer success. How can you be helping them be successful if you don't know what they're trying to accomplish? Yep. I'm not saying you're not working hard. I'm not saying you're not doing something. But really, if customer success is about helping them achieve their desired outcome is goal plus appropriate experience, we don't know their goal, we're not doing customer success. So if you don't know your customer's goal, find out. Like, let's start there. We have to know what that is. And then we need to know that so that we can know what the process looks like to get them there. And then, of course, they're going to go through these progress milestones along the way. But we also need to make sure that they tell us, or we otherwise find out, but ideally they're going to be proactive and tell us when their goals change. Customers don't always complete the journey to a goal before something changes. We need to know about that. Maybe they do complete it and they have a next goal that they're trying to achieve. Or maybe they really see the value in their relationship with you. They are investing more, and they start stacking goals by bringing other people into the company, different use cases, whatever, or into the other people from their company into the product. So you have different use cases, different goals. Like, we need to know what all those things are so we can know what their journey needs to be and actually help them. But from an expansion standpoint, if we don't know their goal, we can't know the progress milestones. We can't predict this in any way. So yes, goal discovery is, it's incredibly important, and it is not a one-time deal. It's part of the relationship that you have with your customer. We need to let them know to keep us updated on their goals as they change.
And it's a discover. I think discovery is a perfect word here, because if you just ask the customer, they might not know. They can't formalize it either. So you need to discover it, and that's what we do also in the Impact Academy. That we work with this framework to actually discover goals. And I mean, the perfect way is that the customer frames it and says it themselves, but you need to arrive there, and that's a process as well.
Yes. I think that's perfectly said, because I think a lot of times we talk about it as goal setting.
Yes.
And that is not usually what's happening. We can't set goals if we don't know what they are. And a lot of times customers, maybe they know what their initial goal is, but they don't really know what the next one would be. And so we have to kind of help them. We have to pull in, other customer stories. Hey, other companies like you, this is what they would do next, or this is how, this is what they're thinking about. So you have sort of that, your positioning as an authority is greatly improved by being able to help your customer discover their own goals. But essentially, it's a discovery process. It's an ongoing process, because it's always going to be changing. So we have to start there. And that's going to give us
exactly
their path, and then the rest of the stuff will sort of fall into place.
And when they've reached one goal, it's the next one, right? So as you say, it's you never stop here. So we have assessed the potential in a new way. We have this new way of identifying opportunities. How can we make this happen in a not to push things on the customer, but really be the facilitator. How do we do that?
So there's a concept that I came up with. I don't know if I came up with it or I sort of learned it from somewhere and brought it into what we do here. But it's the idea is called orchestration, and essentially we're just trying to manage expectations properly. That when this thing happens, this other thing will happen, and if we do that right, this other thing that will happen is not just something that people will know is going to happen. They'll actually anticipate it. So in terms of expansion, we would say, maybe not in these exact words, you want to say something that actually is meaningful to your customers, but your CSMs or you would actually say to the customer something along the lines of, when you achieve this progress milestone, we'll talk about adding this thing to. So we'd actually start with, okay, I understand your goal. I understand what you're trying to achieve. So when you get to this progress milestone, we'll talk about adding this thing to your account, whatever that is, add on, adjacent product, whatever. But you're not ready for that right now. So, but when you are, we'll talk about adding that to your account. There's a lot of psychology in there. We break that whole thing down. We spent an entire week in our training just on that. There's a lot going on there. But essentially, you're telling them, I could try to sell you something right now, but I'm not going to because you're not ready for it, which is like amazing because everybody's like, what? That doesn't happen. But you're also setting them up for, like, when you get to this progress milestone, this is the thing that you would want to add. So right there, they're thinking about what they would need to do to get budget for that. To what it would take to just make that happen from a change management standpoint internally, what sort of authorizations they're going to need to be able to make that work. And so when we get to that point, and we would do this at a certain time, give a good enough lead time from when we think they're going to hit that progress milestone, so that there is enough time to do that. When they finally get there, we say, hey, let's talk about adding this thing to your account. And that's how we go from relatively low uptake of expansion sales because they're kind of out of the blue and they didn't expect them, to all of a sudden like 70% or more people taking it because we're just presenting it. And it has nothing to do with being salesy. That's not salesy. No. There's, you don't have to have your CSMs be salespeople or be aggressive and pushy to try to hit quotas. I'm just telling you, when you get to this point, the most logical next step for you to achieve your goal or to accelerate your path to that goal is this. Yeah. And that's based on what you told me, and it's based on your progress.
Right.
So, and then the process is, if they could do it themselves, they can just add it to their account in the app. Or if I can do it as a CSM, I can just push a button, add it to their account. Great. If it's a process that somebody else needs to be involved with, the salesperson or the AE, then once I've surfaced that opportunity with the customer, then I hand it over to whoever is going to basically take the order and work the deal. Yeah. I'm only doing that because generally in that case, it's a little bit more complex, and as a CSM, I just don't have time. Again, it's not about trust or anything like that. So, it should be a no drama event. It's still going to be a process. Yeah. But it's no drama. And we should get a massive uptake on those expansion opportunities because we've orchestrated it. Right. That changes everything. Yeah. And like I said, if we do it right, they're actually anticipating it because it's tied to their progress, and their progress is tied to their success and their goals. And they're like, yeah, you know what? That's awesome. I'm glad we got to this point. Let's talk about adding this. But if you're just trying to kind of strong arm them into buying something they don't need, that is not going to be the response you get. No. I guarantee you.
And if you initiate a lot of these orchestrations across your portfolio or your book of business, I mean, you will start seeing these coming in all over. Of course, some will be delayed and some will, but the point here is to start these, start working with these, and they will start coming in, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you start doing this, the conversations around this are going. I mean, you're going to start having conversations around this all the time. And again, it's nothing to do with being salesy. These are just going to be conversations that you're having. One thing I do want to just point out real quick is sometimes we don't want to talk about these things because CSMs don't want to be commercial. That comes up a lot. You know, we're trusted advisors. right? We don't want to ruin our relationship by talking about commercial things, but I'll let you guys in on a little secret. We are commercial. Customer success, customer,
Yes.
right there in the name. Nobody is under any delusion that this isn't a commercial relationship. So we can just scrap that whole aspect of like not talking about it, because if you don't give the customer what they need when they need it, even if that means they're going to have to pay more, then you are not helping them be successful, at least not in the way that they need to be. So know their goals, give them what they need, and we're going to have really successful customers and a lot of expansion.
I think that wraps it up perfectly, Lincoln. So that's what we do at Impact Academy. This was a quick session to go through the highlights, but if you want to work with this in more detail and you want to work with this with your customers, that's how Impact Academy works. So it's a very hands-on program where you work through 3 weeks with your customers through live sessions, through breakouts. So make sure to check that out. We are actually at the hour here, so I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and thanks a lot, Lincoln, and I'll see you all soon. So all the best. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for listening. Do you want to bring your customer success to the next level? Check out Impact Academy. We have training programs for customer success managers and for leaders in customer success.